Aaron Rabinowitz here for Red Giant TV. In this episode of Red Giant TV, we're going to take you behind the scenes of our new film, Plot Device, where you'll hear from the cast and crew about everything from pre-production to filming to visual effects and color correction. We'll show you how a great team, using the right set of tools, including the new Magic Bullet Suite 11, made it all happen on a very limited budget. So, with no further ado, I give you behind the scenes of Plot Device. A lot of software companies are talking about how their stuff was used in big budget movies like Avatar or Star Wars or Transformers. Even Red Giant's doing it. And I think that's cool, but I think the more exciting story is about an independent filmmaker who, with almost no budget, is able to create something that looks beautiful and at the same time tells a really good story. And that was the experience that I wanted to capture with this film. But I had to find a director that could pull this off.
He had this idea to promote Magic Bullet with a short film, and so that's how we got here.
I wanted this to be a story, a movie that stood on its own, not a commercial for a product.
Arn had the original idea. This other idea popped in my head about a button. He loved it, but he had no idea how we were going to pull it off. And I said, "Screw you, Rabinowitz. We're doing this with or without Red Giant." And we did it with Red Giant. The look of it had to be different from scene to scene to scene because we were going through all these different genres.
It was really important to us that we not just take a bunch of filters and slap them on footage that had been filmed and then say, hey look, it's a science fiction scene. We wanted to recreate authentically as much as we could the genres that we were trying to match. Seth brilliantly translated it, and he did this amazing job with the film noir, for example, where you have these interesting angles and the camera's never moving, whereas in science fiction, the camera is always moving.
We asked a few different companies we were interested in if we could use their gear for the shoot, such as Digital Juice and Vid Atlantic, and once they heard what we were doing, they totally jumped right in. For action, we wanted to recreate action movies from the 80s, and in the 80s, handheld wasn't as prominent as it is today in modern action films, but we did not have the time or really resources to use a track. But with the Orbit Dolly from Digital Juice, what was great was we had this awesome device that we could set the wheels to however they needed to be, shoot a handful of really, really great dolly shots.
One of the craziest things was the lowrider. We were like, the lowrider, it's like a pillow. What are we going to do with this? We have used the lowrider on like 3/4 of the shots.
It was perfect like stabilizer for setting on the ground. I mean, it's incredibly versatile and incredibly useful. We shot this film on Canon DSLRs, and the footage format isn't native to Final Cut's timeline. So we used Magic Bullet Grinder to quickly convert the footage to an edit-friendly format so that we could start editing the film right away. Looks was awesome to me. Like the first thing, like opening up Looks, you immediately see it as just a collection of presets, and you're like, well, that's cool. If I get lazy, and don't want to do anything on my own or do anything creative, then I'll use that someday. Then I realized you have this whole tool set on the right side. That immediately opened the door to me realizing that I didn't need to open color ever again. We created an action preset in Looks for our action sequence that looked like that faded VHS look, that pink and purple with a film grain on it. The color style of action isn't really, the action movies themselves maybe the way they were originally looked in film, but it's how they looked on VHS for all of us growing up.
3 inches of rain. One of the worst day in the past month.
Looks like we're shooting in the rain.
We shot the zombie scene early in the morning, and I really wanted one of my neighbors to wake up and go to the window with coffee and see an army of the undead approaching their house.
Seth and I landed on 7 p.m. ABC gore is what we ended up calling it. No missing limbs, no pouring blood. We had 2 makeup girls, and we designated about 4 or 5 kind of hero zombies. There were some latex effects that we did. They had this awesome teeth stuff where they colored your teeth, and they were like green and yellow and black.
You're going open mouth, zombie?
Well, I'm gonna bite you.
This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me!
You ready to be shot in the face with a leaf blower?
Yes. The main character is actually played by Ben Worley, who was my actual brother, which is the only way I am able to get away with everything that we put him through in the film. He also composed and recorded the entire score for the short, so any accomplishment you may feel should now be obliterated because he's 18 years old and has recorded an orchestral score, multiple ones actually.
This isn't better.
Pouring rain, and we're getting ready to start the noir sequence. We're also on hour 12 of our day.
There were also a few shots where our ridiculously beautiful actors were subjected to harsh light. But with Cosmo impressively allows you to get rid of blemishes and signs of age. But in our case, we were able to use it to make something already perfect, like our wonderful actress Lydia, look even perfecter. I love Wes Anderson. I hate everyone who's trying to be Wes Anderson, and I was that person for a while. We wanted to really mock all of these modern-day independent films that are coming out.
I don't subscribe to anything.
Yeah, subscribing is too mainstream.
The indie section of the film actually, it shows you how these tools can be used for subtlety as well as, you know, big style, because you wouldn't realize until you see the before and after how different it actually looks with the looks and without the looks.
I'm thinking about giving up breathing because too many people do it.
Ben, can you get in frame for me?
Yeah,
I mean,
I am in the background.
There you are. Okay.
that's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
If you talk about it, though, why don't you just do it?
Yeah, people talk way too much.
Red Giant actually has all of these guru presets for Magic Bullet looks. And we actually used for romance Simon Walker's Wedding and Events presets. This, you know, highly diffused, warm romance feel and look. Sci-fi was all Michael Bay and a lot of explosions. Achieving the patented blockbuster look was almost too easy with Mojo, which we utilized for the entire sci-fi sequence. The flares throughout sci-fi are actually a combination of real in-camera flares by shining a flashlight at the camera with the Vidic-Lantic Cinemorph filter on the front of the camera. It allows you to shoot everything in 16:9, but the depth of field looks anamorphic and the flares look anamorphic. And then Knoll Light Factory allowed us to not only stylize the button by adding a red flare to it throughout the film, it also let us appropriately blind the audience with flares throughout the sci-fi sequence. As we were shooting sci-fi, the sun was slowly disappearing, and so I had to use Colorista to boost the light in some of the shots, and Red Giant's denoiser was amazing in getting rid of the obvious grain and noise.
Holy crap, that is a flying saucer. Don't move your arms anywhere. How the F am I supposed to act when you're facing...
In addition to Magic Bullet, a lot of Red Giant's other tools were pivotal in executing what we wanted to do, such as Trapcode Form, which we used to create the energy shockwave at the end. Key Correct and the rest of Red Giant's keying suite allowed us to shoot Ben flying through the air and then quickly and convincingly composite him into the shot of him hitting the ground. And then, not to mention, you know, put a huge foreboding spaceship over my house. Just like, you know, any hack will tell you, I would rather use practical effects as much as possible. So when it came to actually blow up an alien, I thought we should do it as humanely as possible.
Get off my lawn.
And by that I mean throwing Axe body wash all over my brother.
That's really gross.
So I got pickups to do, but we're done for the weekend of weather in hell. Woohoo! I'm gonna get shampoo off my hands soon.
One of my favorite aspects of working on this film was working with community. Red Giant is a software company, but we're very community driven. For example, we had a whole bunch of users submit posters that we used in the opening scenes of the film that were just movie posters from their own projects. And we also had a bunch of contributions in visual effects and animation. Rob Redman, who's a really amazing and well-known 3D animator, who's also an editor at 3D World Magazine, he built the spaceship for the science fiction scenes that you see. And also Andrew Embry, who is an amazing traditional animator. You know, I just put out a thing on Twitter and I said, hey, can anyone help us out with some traditional animation? And he jumped in and in just a couple of days banged out the stuff that comes after the credits that we just, like, at the last minute decided to add.
Or a lot of other, you know, software and plugins will make, you know, styles and effects easier for filmmakers. Red Giant makes them more powerful and easier for filmmakers.
Every piece of gear that we've had has worked exactly as we needed it to and has done the job.
Digital Juice's products were great because they were able to help us do more in this little time that we had on set. And you know, Red Giant's products in the Magic Bullet suite was able to help us achieve significantly more in less time in post. Great.
Thanks for watching behind the scenes of Plot Device. You know, when making this film, we actually set out to tell two stories. The one that you saw in the film and the one that you just watched. It's a story about a great group of people coming together to create something amazing using their talent and our software. I'm really proud to have been a part of that process, and I think it's fair to say that I have not had more fun on a project before. I hope that you've enjoyed learning about how we brought Plot Device to life, but more importantly, I hope that it's inspired you to go out and tell your story. Once again, I'm Marlon Rabinowitz for Red Giant TV. I'll see you next time.